this problem tells us that g of x is the integral of f from 0 to x. From negative 2 to x, so it's the integral from, notice there's actually a small error on your study guide for this one. This little spot right here says a -4, and it's pretty clear that this distance here is 1, 2, 3, so that right there should be a -3. Apologies for that. And I'll treat it as if that's a -3 all the way through, because it kind of works out the way it's intended to be. Alright, so I've got this function that is the integral from -2 up to x, whatever x value we determine. And it asked me a bunch of questions, and you should notice that this is a triangle right here, and that this is a semicircle, and it says it consists of semicircles and line segments. So the first thing we want to do is find these different values of g and g prime. So g, and I'm just going to go straight off the definition that they give me there. G of 4 is equal to integral from -2 to 4 of that function. And I'm not going to write that function notation there, but it's the integral from -2 to 4, so it is this negative area, which is 3 by 2, so that's equal to 1/2 3 times 2. And then that's actually a negative area because it's below the axis there. And then plus this area, which is a semicircle, its radius is 2, so that's going to give me plus pi times 2 squared over 2. And then if I simplify that, that gives me that is equal to, I get 2 pi, it's my positive part, and then I get minus 3. And that is g of 4. I think there's an error on part of the study guide solutions, and fix it for next time, but for now there's a 6 there instead of a 3. Anyway, so let me find those other parts. It doesn't affect too much. So I'm going to actually reuse this 2 pi minus 3 over and over again as we go through B, C, D, E, all that stuff. So anyway, g of 2 is g of 2? G prime of 2. So what that is I can use FTC, and that, since there's no chain rule in this part right here, FTC part 2 tells me that g of 2 is just f of 2. So, or g prime of 2 is just f of 2. So I get f of 2, which I look at this thing, at 2, f has a height of 2. So g prime of 2 is 2. That's the second part of my answer there. And then the third part is to find g prime of 2. Well, if we know that that g prime of something is f of that whatever, then g double prime of that of something is going to be f prime of whatever we're talking about. So I just, for g prime of 2 for this, or for g double prime of 2, I just need to look at the slope of this thing right here at that high point, right? And that high point, the slope is 0. So g double prime is equal to 0 there.